Good evening, everyone. You are all very welcome to MU Live this evening. I'm delighted to be joined by some fabulous women here this evening. We have Leah O'Toole, who is the Programme Coordinator of the Early Childhood Teaching and Learning degree at Maynooth University. We have Teresa Heaney, who is the CEO of Early Childhood Ireland, who's also given over her Wednesday evening to join us here on MU Live. And we have the fabulous Antoinette Keeley, who is a current student on the Early Childhood Teaching and Learning flexible degree in her final year. Sorry, apologies. So she's going to chat to us about her experiences on the degree program. So we hope that you have lots of questions for us as we're going along. I'm just going to draw your attention to a little bit of housekeeping. Down the bottom of your screens, you can probably see there's a Q&A box and a chat box. So I'm going to use the chat box to drop in some useful links as we go along, maybe to the degree and to our open day hub. And you guys can use the Q&A box to pop in any questions, and we will go through those as they arise this evening. My name is Fionnuala Finnegan, and I am the Student Recruitment Officer, and I work in the Admissions Office at Maynooth. So indeed, if you have questions for me, I'd be delighted to have them as well. So without further ado, I think I have introduced everyone and spoken enough, and people want to hear about the two degrees. So I shall hand over to you, Leah, if that's okay.
Yes, certainly. Thanks a million, Fionnuala. Sorry, apologies, just sharing my screen. Okay, so.
That's great, we can see that.
You can see that, that's great.
Do you want to pop it into, oh, there it is there, lovely.
Yeah, okay. So thanks everybody for joining us this evening. I'm delighted to share some information with you about our early childhood degrees. My name is Leah O'Toole. I'm the Programme Coordinator of our flexible degree, and I'm really happy to be joined by Antoinette. Tonight I'm going to tell you a little bit about the background to the programmes, our programme details and general information, the kind of content that you might learn if you decide to join us here on an early childhood degree, and then how to apply, and also some options for you should you graduate from this degree. So in terms of our programme delivery, we are working out of the Frebel department for primary and early childhood education, and we're really influenced by the ideology of Friedrich Frebel, which is all based around active learning and student-centred approaches. So in the Frebel department, it would be very rare that you would sit in a seat and be lectured to by a lecturer at the top of the room in a kind of a traditional way. We tend to learn in a range of kind of interesting and engaging ways. And we're very, very much focused on practice in early childhood settings. So to give you a bit of a background to it, our degrees were initially developed in 2011 in partnership with Early Childhood Ireland. As the changes in the sector developed at that time, a lot of people were looking for options for level 8 degrees. But as our sector in early childhood is developing, the government have gotten more involved in the professionalisation of early childhood educators, and they've directed now that all level 8 early childhood degrees have to be 4-year degree programmes going forward. So we had to go through a whole process of re-accrediting our degrees, and thankfully we had an exceptionally positive response from the government in terms of our new degrees going forward. So last September we began a new full-time degree, and the new reconfigured 4-year flexible degree is due to start in this coming September. The aim of our degrees is to really engage with practice and develop graduates who are very competent, very reflective, and really understand teaching and learning in early childhood. So where to locate yourself? These degrees, both degrees, you would graduate after 4 years, after 4th year, with a level 8 honours bachelor's degree. However, there are some exemptions and some kind of different ways you can go about these degrees. So, for example, if you are a practicing early childhood educator at present who has a level 6 qualification in early childhood education, you may be exempt from first year and you might go straight to second year. So that means that you could complete the full degree in 3 years and you still get the same amount of credits and the same recognition for a full honours degree. If you decide to leave after third year, you can graduate with a level 7 degree, and those in the sector will be aware that has implications for capitation and pay. But you can then continue if you wish to complete fourth year and leave with your level 8 degree. So the kind of things that you would study, the modules I'm showing you now at the moment are coming from the full-time degree, but the flexible program has very similar modules. So hearing about this would give you a good idea for either program about the kind of things you would do. So in each year, we have 2 large modules that kind of support all of the other ones. So the first is reflective practice, where we look to engage with, obviously, as the name says, the reflective practice to early childhood education. In first year, this module is really about that transition into third level learning. And the other big degree then is your professional practice degree, including placement. And each year then there are 6 additional smaller modules. So you can see a brief overview of the first year in the full-time program there, everything from child psychology to legal studies to philosophy, inclusion, a range of areas that are relevant to early childhood practice. So in year 2 then, again, if you have level 6 for the flexible program, this is where you would begin. We again have the 2 big modules, reflective practice and professional practice. And in year 2, we look at things like learning and development practices, relationships with children and families and communities being really central to what we do. The children's spaces module is so interesting about how we can create really good early childhood settings. And sorry, this is jumping forward on us there before it's ready. And play, I love that we have a whole module on play, because obviously play is so central to what happens in early childhood settings and underlies all learning in the early years. In third year then, again, you can see the professional practice and the reflective practice underpinning everything that happens. But in third year, you're starting to really become a lot more critical in your learning and to locate learning in its broader social context. So we have, pieces around the community, around the social and legal context. We're starting to think about justice, and that's really relevant to Maynooth University in particular. A lot of what we do is rooted in a real social justice approach. There's a lovely module actually there in third year around creativity and imagination, and that's one that students always say has really changed their thinking even about themselves as the kind of creativity that they may have. And then in your final year, you in the reflective practice module, you will do a thesis, so a dissertation that brings you into the realm of research in early childhood education. And you're starting to look at a real leadership role by the time you come to fourth year, so leadership and management. Really deep thinking pieces around the discourses that we engage with in early childhood education and care to allow you to be a leader in the broader sector, even beyond settings. So some general information: the full-time degree, the program code is MH003. It's 4-year full-time and follows the usual university academic schedule. Our flexible degree then, if you're looking for that on the CAO, the code is MH004, and it's delivered in a very kind of flexible way, obviously, as the name would say. It's a blend of online and face-to-face. There will be some evenings, 1 evening a week and 1 Saturday a month, and then some block weeks. So you could expect to be online for most of your evening sessions. There might be 1 or 2 at the beginning or the end of the degree, but for your planning, you would be online during the week and then face-to-face on campus on the Saturdays and the block week. So it's really the best of both worlds. You get to engage face-to-face, and yet there is the flexibility of online learning. One thing to really take account of is the placement, because as I already mentioned, we're very much focused on practice and developing really, really good practitioners. So all students have to undertake a minimum of 420 hours working directly with young children in a notified early childhood setting. And you should note that a primary school setting is not allowed for the placement. It needs to be a TUSLA notified early childhood setting. But on a positive note, for the flexible degree, those who are currently working in the sector can use their own workplace as their placement. And they will have to do an alternate experience in another service as well, just to add to the range of experience that our students have. So we do have a very kind of networked placement coordinator here who can help you ensure really quality experience and placement. So then you can see the criteria there for application. Obviously, these are based on the previous years. We're in and around the 380 points. That can't be guaranteed, obviously, year on year, but it would give you a kind of a broad idea, a ballpark figure, I suppose, to aim for. Yeah, happy to take any questions that people have about how to apply. One thing to notice for the flexible degree, the application is a little different for the flexible degree because we're looking for those with level 6 qualifications. So you would apply on the advanced entry portal on the CAO rather than just the ordinary CAO application. In terms of career options, so like, why would you bother coming to us? We're really recognized in the sector as a very high quality degree. And I have to say a lot of that is linked to this really unique partnership with Early Childhood Ireland. You know, anybody who asks us, why Maynooth, why you, what's different, or why would you be more attractive than other degrees? And I really think it's that link with practice that Early Childhood Ireland brings, among other things, our wonderful lecturers and students, etc. But you know, we really are so linked with practice. Graduates from our degree have gone on to work in, you know, in management and practice to develop their practice further, but they've also gone to things like local development agencies, national government and voluntary organizations, both nationally and internationally. And also you would be in a position then to apply for a range of postgraduate courses. So a number of people are interested in going this route into primary teaching by the undergraduate degree, the early childhood degree, and then they can apply for the level 9 PM Ed. Now you do need to apply for that. It's not an automatic route, but you'd be very well positioned to apply for that level 9 degree. And we've a number of other masters in Maynooth that are of interest to early childhood educators. So the Master of Education, Research and Practice, or in particular the Early Childhood Specialism Masters as well. So there are lots of routes there for further development. So I suppose I'm kind of giving you the overview of the degree and singing its praises. And you may be thinking, well, if she's the program coordinator, she would say that, wouldn't she? So I think really what you need to hear from is our wonderful student perspective here from Antoinette. So I'll stop sharing and hand you over to Antoinette just to tell you a little bit about her experiences on the degree.
Hi Leah, thank you very much. Good evening everybody. As Leah said, I am a final year student. I'm doing the flexible course. I was 21 years working in the sector this year, and I think it was time for me to get back in to the degree. And with the support of the guys that I work with, I can't believe we're coming to the end of the degree. It's been the quickest 2 years, but almost amazing 3 years as well. As I said, I'm 21 years working in the sector, and this degree has allowed me to connect the theory to practice, and also deal with inspectors coming in from TUSLA with confidence. It's helped me grow personally and professionally, and I can honestly say it's one of the best things I've ever decided to do. Coming back into, I was very nervous going back in, being a little bit older than some of the other girls, But the class that we're in, and I've seen it with the other years as well, there's a good mixture of mature students and young students come in. And it's actually a fantastic mix because they support each other. Because my big thing was technology, but there's a fantastic writing centre there who will help everybody out. And then the library, it's probably one of the best libraries in the country. Again, the support there for everybody of all abilities. And there's lots of social events available too. I even got invited to a coffee morning tomorrow on campus. But the best thing about me with the degree was I could continue to work because it's flexible. I could continue to work full time in my own job, which is something that I didn't want to stop. And I'm definitely reaping the benefits for it now. The parents are reaping the benefits and the children are, because we really connecting back the theory to practice. It's unbelievable. The extra, as Leah had said, we have to do some extra hours in a different setting. And it just gives you a little eye opener. It can be quite affirming to what you are, but it gives you an eye into a different setting as well. And as I said, it's enabled me to grow both professionally and personally. And I honestly can't say enough. The lecturers are fantastic and they're there to help us and support us. They're not there to make us, to fail us or anything. They're there as a support network. And as a group, I know I can say for our year, we're there for each other, personally and professionally. And anybody looking to do it, hands down, yeah, I definitely would. Knowing what I know now, I'd have done it years ago. So, any questions?
I've loads. Can I ask some questions? That's so interesting. Thanks so much, Antoinette. What if students, what kind of different types of placements are there? And I'm sorry if that is a totally ridiculous question. But what's the difference between some of the providers, Antoinette?
Sorry, again, I suppose it's where you're coming from. Where I work, I would consider ourselves quite inclusive and professional and developed service. As I said, I'm there 21 years and I'm there for a reason for 21 years. Where other place you go in and you do see different practices, perhaps you can bring them back to your own practice, or in case of recent placement I was in, that you can lend your knowledge to supporting others around emerging interests or anything like that. So it's again, we're all there for the one reason, for the benefit of the children. And if we can support each other within the service to benefit each service, it's nice to get a look into somebody else's way of doing things and thinking.
Absolutely. And where are you based at the moment?
I'm in Dunboyne.
Is it a play school? Is it a
yes, we're
creche?
ECC. We're ECC. So we've 2 sessions, a morning session from 9 till 12. And then obviously with COVID and the extra cleaning, we're 1 till 4 for the afternoon session. So
do you do after schoolers as well?
No, we don't. No.
Just the smallies.
Just there too, yeah. So we've the older children in them, which is the second year is the morning crew, and the younger crew in the afternoon.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
And
we're very outdoorsy as well, so our children access the outdoors for at least a minimum of 1/3 of their time there, so regardless of the weather.
Yeah. And I suppose if you're in the sector 21 years and before the degree, you obviously came with a good wealth of your own knowledge as well. So what kind of learnings do you learn in the classroom that was really beneficial, as you've mentioned, to your work placement?
As Leah went through the programme earlier on, and you're looking at some of the modules, say creativity wouldn't have been what I had believed one of my strengths, but the lecture that we had was unbelievable. Jackie just brought out everything in us, music, art, and it's something that you're learning, you know the reason behind it, and you bring it back into practice. And the same with our inclusion model. We would be, as I said, very inclusive service, but again, you never know everything. And it's a big saying that we would have used with the football in my boys, to know Johnny, to teach Johnny, you got to know Johnny. So it's about all of the modules teach us that each child is different. And it's about us coming down to their level, having an inclusive environment for staff, for parents, and each module brings its own leadership. As Leah said, within the final year, leadership is a big one this year, and that we're working on that at the moment. Literacy, numeracy, it's things that you kind of don't realize what we're doing it. It's quite affirming that you're doing a lot of it, but it also adds the theory behind why you're doing it.
Yeah, it's fundamental now, I suppose, because children learn in different ways and they enjoy different things. And now we're more multicultural than ever.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's about probably bringing all of these, angles and bits and pieces together into the classroom setting. What was your favorite module overall, would you say?
Oh gosh, there's so many. Well, there's a big difference of first year, and looking back on my first year assignments to now, academic writing wise, it's kind of going, oh my God, did I really write that? But again, it's down to support of the lectures, the writing centre, the library, and within our group, our communities of practice has been fantastic. But I really love play. I'm very much child-centred and free play and emerging interests. So, and their well-being, the children's well-being as well. And each lecture teaches things where they're at. Some are quite academic, but it's so pertinent to what we're doing as well. As I said, the creativity one was very hands-on, and play is what we see day in, day out. As long as the children are central to everything that we're doing. So I'd say, creativity, probably.
Creativity, yeah.
And I still can't sing.
I know.
For nothing.
Because you're probably saying to yourself, well, I'm hardly going to start now breaking out into my favorite song when I'm not a great singer. But the good thing about that is that the teacher encouraged you all to tap into your creative side, and why not bring it in? Kids aren't going to judge you too harshly anyway.
They don't judge at all.
No, which is great. You have a great audience. Yeah, fantastic. You mentioned you're going on a coffee morning. So, as someone who's been on the flexible or the part-time degree, how have you been able to sample part of going to university and university life?
Well, again, everything within emails are coming out everywhere, and we're introduced regardless whether on the flexible one or the full-time one, because I would know some people, and it's the university is open to everybody regardless of your interest. I know the sports, I suppose it depends where you are with your life, whether you can fit these things in or not. The student union, we've had a couple of mocktails there.
Nice.
But again, it's just nice, I said, from a mature student point of view, that you're accepted as a student.
Which is great. You didn't feel out of place.
Not at all, no.
I think Teresa has her hand up.
Yeah, not to interrupt your flow between the two. Yeah, it's great to listen to your conversation. I'd love to hear from Antoinette about her professional ambition and where that has landed as she comes to the end of this degree, because you're nearly finished now.
Oh God, yeah, that's a scary. That's a scary thing, Teresa.
So I just wondered about that, Antoinette, and can I just say, don't be minding her about hiding her light under her bushel at all. She works in a fantastic service and has contributed to the incredible reputation that the service that she works in has. So don't be minding her modesty at all. But just to the question of professional ambition, having completed the degree, where is that landing now for you, Antoinette?
Well, get this year out of the way. There is myself and a couple of other girls in the class, and one of the boys looking at maybe the masters, but maybe take it a year out, because I've missed so much of my boys' football and stuff. But for me personally, it's something I always wanted to do, and I think I've gained so much, as I said earlier on, regarding inspectors coming out and having the confidence to deal with them. That's something I wouldn't have done beforehand. Within the set, you're now seen as a professional, knowing you have your degree under your belt. So going forward, I think I love where I am so much. I don't think I'll be going anywhere, but I know there are options out there.
Okay.
if you want them. But there is an option. Yeah, we're looking at maybe doing the masters. I'm saying that now, don't quote me.
Oh, I'll be quoting you. And
Leah
I don't
didn't
think
hear that, did she?
I don't think, yeah, you mightn't bother
Right,
taking
so,
the
Antoinette.
at all. Yeah.
That's fantastic. A question has come in, if you don't mind, before we hear from Teresa, and then we can take more questions for Antoinette. Absolutely. So keep them coming in, guys. But this person has written in, hi, is there placement every year on the full-time degree course? That's from
I'll
Eileen.
answer that one if that's okay.
Of course.
Yeah. So we've been talking quite a lot about the flexible degree here now this evening, but the full-time program is really focused on placement as well. The difference between it is that if you're coming in directly from Leaving Cert, you won't be able to work because you need to have level 5 or level 6 qualification in early childhood education to be allowed to work in the sector. So what our full-time students do is they find a placement, same like any kind of traditional student placement. You would be in there over the course of each academic year. You'll do 420 hours. So that gives you an idea of quite how much there is. There will be kind of ebbs and flows across the academic year. So in some periods of time, you might be in there maybe just on a Monday or a Friday, and then you'll have a number of block placements where you can really immerse yourself in the placement or in the setting that you're in and really get to know the day-to-day of it. There's also, I mean, you're asking the question earlier, Fionnuala, around different types of settings. Like the early childhood sector is so diverse. It's what's wonderful about it in many ways. We've everything from full daycare creches where children are there from very young up until they start school or even after school, to kind of sessional services, to community-based services. There's lots of different types of service, and we try to ensure that our full-time students get a range of experiences. We also like them to have a range of experiences across the age groups. So for example, in first year, you'll work with babies and toddlers, and then as you progress up through the program, you might be with slightly older children. So I hope that answers the question. Oh, one final thing I should say is that one of the real benefits of the program is our placement coordinator, Annette, who is steeped in early childhood practice. She's an early childhood educator originally herself, who has come into academia through that route, and she has links across the sector, so really keeps us very close to practice.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. A couple of questions have come in here. A little bit on sort of routes into other degrees. So someone has written, hi, is there a route from early childhood to primary education? I could probably answer this one. Yes, I mean, actually, for the PME in primary education, you can approach it from any degree. I have known nurses who have gone for it, or people who have done business and languages, or like that, the early childhood teaching and learning degree. Absolutely. Important here is that you have the entry requirements. So you will always need the H4 Leaving Cert Standard Irish. Or I think there's the Coursa B in TEG that you can do and get over 60%, and that is also considered an entry requirement. So yes, you can, but you can from many different disciplines. It's not necessarily a direct route per se, but of course you can apply for the PME in primary education following the degree. So I hope that answers your question. Another question has come in. Can you become a social worker on the back of the degree? Now, I don't believe this is the full-time degree that you would do social policy in the early childhood teaching and learning. If someone was interested in becoming a social worker, they might consider our MH107, which is our social science degree. MH107 is the code, and I can pop the link in. I can find the link on the website and I can pop it in for you there while Teresa's doing her presentation, if that is okay. And speaking of which, I think we should hear from Teresa, and then we'll come to some more questions at the end. How does that sound?
How's that? Can you hear
Fantastic.
me and see me? Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a million. So I am, my name is Teresa Heaney and I'm the CEO of Early Childhood Ireland. And as Leah has said, we have been partners on the degree in early childhood teaching and learning in Maynooth since it began. So it's a piece of work that we're very proud of, that we contribute to. Our staff teach on the programme, and our colleagues in Maynooth University asked me to join tonight to talk about some of the issues that are at play at the minute in our sector, and just to keep live our discourse in terms of tonight's session. So we have Early Childhood Ireland has just completed our own strategic plan, which will guide our work for the next 5 years to 2026. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about our plan with you. So we, for those of you who don't know the organisation, we're the leading membership organisation in the early years sector in Ireland. And our vision is about putting the child at the centre of all of our work. And our ambition as an organisation is that by 2030, Ireland will have an improved publicly funded system where children and babies have access to consistently high quality early learning and care and school age childcare, whether they are in centres or in childminders' homes. So our vision that supports that ambition is that every young child is thriving and learning in quality early learning and care and school age childcare, centre-based and childminding settings. And our mission is about supporting and empowering our members to provide the highest quality early learning and care and school age childcare services for children and their families in centres and in childminders' homes. So our strategic plan has 4 objectives. The first one is about supporting our members to lead the way in achieving excellence in their practice, in their settings. The second ambition or objective is about being a key advocate for children in early learning and care and school age childcare. Our third ambition is about developing new knowledge and research about the world and the work of early childhood education, and supporting our members to undertake research, to use research in their practice, and to engage in reflective practice and peer learning. And I think we've heard already from Antoinette talking about how much of that reflective practice she is already doing, either when she's on placement or when she's back at home in her own setting. And our fourth objective is about ourselves and our organisation being sustainable, being well governed, and being accountable to our funders and to our members. So just to share with you some sort of key piece of information about our work, we have 2 pillars guiding our work. One is about our members and the excellence of their practice and the learning that children experience. And our second pillar is about policy, advocacy and campaigning. And then we have 4 support structures that support the achievement of those pillars. So we have an operations function, a communications function, a research function, and a funding and partnerships function. We have about 40 staff and we have about 4,000 members. So to put that 4,000 members in context, there's in the region of 4,300 operators in Ireland, and we have 4,000 members. So that'll give you a sense about the strength and depth of our work. We have a board of management with 10 members, and they're drawn from all aspects of Irish society. We have a wide range of services and supports for members, including a helpline, mentoring and practice supports, a learning hub, which was accessed, for example, by 18,000 users last year. And then we have a lot of different communications platforms that we use to share insights and knowledge with the sector and with our members. We have a blog, some of you may have used it already. We have a podcast, we use an Instagram page, a Twitter page, a Facebook page. We produce a quarterly magazine, and we produce a weekly e-zine, and we produce a quarterly magazine specifically about pedagogy, and then we have an e-magazine about inspiring practice. So, and some of you will know the event National Pajama Day, and we look after the arrangement, the organization of National Pajama Day. Core to our work is to work in partnership and to collaborate with other organizations nationally and internationally. And this degree is a key cornerstone of our partnership approach. We also have partnerships with Lergus, with internationally with Reggio Emilia, with San Miniato in Italy. And we are really committed as an approach to partnership in our work, because we believe that we can be enhanced, and we can enhance better through partnership. So at the core of our work is the quality of children's experiences in their early years settings. And that will always be the yardstick that we will use to measure whether or not our work is meaningful. The question we always will ask ourselves is this going to impact positively on children's experiences in their early years setting? So where are we today, and what's the context of tonight's discussion? I was looking at last year's presentation, because my colleagues in Maynooth kindly invited me to participate last year as well. And much of what we said was in development at that time is now in place, or it's almost in place this year, which is interesting. But then other things have overtaken it. So Ukraine is a big issue at the moment for a lot of our members in their settings, welcoming new families and new children into their setting. So we're working closely with government at the moment to put some supports in place for those settings and for those families. COVID-19 is still an issue, for sure it is, because of the large number of people still contracting the virus, and the impact of that on closure of rooms and so on. Just recently, or just 2 weeks ago, the Department of Children published the findings of an operational review, which they have been undertaking for the past couple of years. And that operational review is recommending the creation of a new single agency for the early years sector. Anybody working in the sector will know that there are multiple agencies that create an abundance of administration. And we have long advocated for a single agency to drive the development of this sector. So we were very pleased to see that single agency being recommended in the report of the operational review. In terms of timetabling and functions of this new agency and so on, that all remains to be seen. But the report has been published now, and I'm sure will be the focus of much of the students undertaking the new degree. Just at Christmas, government launched its new plan for how it's going to fund the early years sector in Ireland in a report called Partnership for the Public Good. And that has introduced a new way of funding our sector called core funding. So it's still very much, we still haven't seen a lot of the detail, and there's no doubt some concerns about core funding, but one of the key policy objectives that the new funding model is seeking to achieve is that for the first time, there will be government support for the employment of graduates in every room in a childcare service. Up until now, there has only been additional capitation for graduates working in the preschool room. And so this is a very significant change, and a very welcome change in terms of the experiences that children will have, that younger children will now have in baby rooms, in wobble rooms, and in toddler rooms. But as I said, there's quite a bit of discourse going on out there about it, but we're all trying to stay focused. And because one of the key developments that needs to be completed for core funding to work is the last point here, which is about joint labour committee. So at the moment, there are discussions in the Labour Court about an agreement on salary scales for our sector. We don't have salary scales for our sector, and what we all know is that the scales are nowhere near high enough to support a well-qualified workforce and a graduate workforce. So we need an agreement to come out of those discussions at the moment, which are ongoing at the JLC, in order to draw down this money that has been committed for core funding. So all of this is probably going to happen in the next few weeks, the next 4 to 6 weeks, I would imagine. So keep your eyes open, because I'm sure it will be, there will be a lot of discussion in the media and social media about it. Nurturing Skills is the workforce plan, also launched just before Christmas. And that report, I certainly would recommend it to you, because it contains the journey, I suppose, the trajectory that we're all looking at in terms of the professionalization of our sector. Nurturing Skills looks at CPD supports, it looks at support for graduates, it looks at new roles in sectors, and it's a very important plan for our sector. That report was published, and it's there's going to be a number of working groups formed to drive the development and the implementation of that particular report. It's important to say that we have a newly configured department now. It used to be the Department of Children and Youth Affairs. It's now the Department of Children, Equality, Disability. It can be hard to remember. Inclusion and Youth, DCEDIY. And that newly configured department means that early years has gone from being the biggest fish in the previous pond to being, a significantly smaller fish in the department, which includes disability. So it's something that we as advocates have to be constantly on the watch to make sure that early years stays front and center of the work of that department. So I wanted to share with you a piece of work that Early Childhood Ireland does every year. We do a barometer where we hire a polling company and ask them to ask some key questions of the Irish public. And there are certain questions that we track year on year. And I just wanted to share this particular stat from the barometer with you. As you can see, we asked the Irish public how the extent to which they agree with the statement that every child should have the right to free, high quality and accessible early years care and education, and 80% of the Irish public agree with that statement. So as we do our advocacy for increased investment in our sector, we can, with fantastic confidence, be able to say to government and the Irish public agrees that that should happen. So I just wanted to share that with you, because this is the kind of stat that guides us and motivates us to continue our work in terms of advocacy for this sector. Oh, sorry, I showed you that. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry, excuse me. Just to a little bit more on core funding, it's a piece of work that we're doing a lot of with our members. We're doing a lot of policy analysis on the proposals on the table at the moment and engaging with the Department of Children and the policymakers. We have already done one member survey ourselves, which certainly indicates a desire for further information about core funding. And we have a member reference group as well. And on a weekly basis at the moment, we are sharing findings of what our members are saying with members of the Oireachtas. So it's high on our list of work to do at the moment, the core funding. And then some other work that we're doing at the moment. You will have seen that I referenced childminding a couple of times earlier. Childminding, there is now a childminding action plan, which government launched last year. So we would see that as a new and very clear focus of our work and into the future, given the number of children that are looked after in childminding settings and the commitment by government to fund childmindings and childminding advisory officers. We're doing a lot of work with Lergus to make sure that international supports and international CPD supports are available for our sector. We have an awards program, which we're currently reviewing. We are supporting the department with a review of the regulations, which guide our sector. We are working with Maynooth University, making research webinars available. We have our Garda vetting, which I saw earlier in Leah's presentation, has gone online. We are undertaking some research on what the impact of COVID was on practice and settings. And we're also doing a piece of research with Maynooth and Stranmillis University in Northern Ireland on children's voice in their curriculum. So it's a busy place to work, and the degree is a key part of that. And I'm very happy if you want me to take any questions about any of that, Fionnuala. Thank you. I hope I didn't go on too long.
No, not at all. It was extremely interesting. Thank you so much. And my cat enjoyed it also. You might have seen his little face. He joined in to listen to the conversation, which was excellent. Lots of questions have been coming in, folks, so absolutely please do keep them coming in. You might be able to answer this one for me. If you have applied as a mature student through the CAO, when would you expect to hear back if your application has been successful? Thank you.
Can I answer that one, Fionnuala?
Absolutely.
That's okay.
Absolutely.
Yes. So there was a couple of different deadlines for the applications for mature students for everybody, actually. So the first deadline was the 1st of February, and those who applied before the 1st of February should have gotten a kind of a holding email letting them know that their application was received and that we'd be in touch shortly. But there's a second deadline now of the 1st of May. So we're just at the beginning of April now. We're kind of waiting for the 1st of May deadline to pass. And at that point, then there'd be a more detailed response to anybody who has applied. So I suppose the answer to your question is, if you've applied before the 1st of February, you should have at least gotten an acknowledgement of that. So if you're in the situation where you applied before the 1st of February and you haven't received an acknowledgement, do get in touch with me, and I'll follow up on that just in case something's gone astray. If, however, you applied between the 1st of February and now, you won't have heard anything back just yet, and you'll get a full response after the 1st of May, after that deadline has passed.
Super, thank you so much. Another one has come in for you as well, Elia. What other postgraduate courses are available other than primary school teaching after finishing this early childhood teaching and learning degree with a level 8? Thank you.
Yeah, so there's loads of options in that regard. The early childhood degrees, both degrees that we're talking about now, will qualify you with level 8. So that means that you're then qualified to apply for level 9. So what that means in reality is that you're qualified to apply for a number of different masters. So obviously there would be many across the country. You know, our graduates have gone to other universities, including Trinity, NUI Galway, Cork, wherever, but obviously we'd love to pull you back to Maynooth, and a large number of our graduates do choose to come and do their master's degree in Maynooth because they've had such a positive experience here. So the specific ones that we would offer that would be relevant, as well as obviously the primary teaching route, are our masters in research and practice is one, and that is focused on the whole area of what we call action research. Antoinette is immersed at the moment in her action research dissertation at undergraduate level, and it's around the whole area of using research to improve your practice. But you can draw that then into master's level as well, a kind of a large thesis based on action research. So that's one option. Or we also have a master's with a specialism in early childhood education. And that's a little bit different. You do a thesis with that, but there are a number of different modules then in education. That master's also has specialisms in things like leadership, and there are other specialisms you could take. But if you're graduating from our degrees, it would probably be the early childhood specialism that you would be most interested in. They're quite flexibly done as well. I mean, you can do over 1 year, over 2 years, a number of different options in that regard.
And if I could just jump in there, Fionnuala, I think it's also fair to say that our degree here is very broad ranging and covers a lot of topics. And I think that students will very often do find something in particular that interests them. So they might decide, actually, when they're done, what I would like to do is do a bit more work on ethics, or I might like to do a bit more work on child protection, or I might like to do a bit more work on policy or advocacy. But certainly the degree, I think, gives a good grasp of a wide range of subjects that then informs master's choices, I think.
Yeah. Some of our students have gone on to do things like play therapy or early intervention. I just heard from a student today that she got a scholarship for a PhD. So, they go on beyond masters as well. We've a number of our graduates are working on their doctorates at the moment. So really lovely to see the progression that happens there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Questions are coming in here now, which is great. Fantastic. Keep them coming, folks. Would this degree qualify you to teach in special education?
And that's a difficult one. I mean, the degree is aimed to qualify people to work in early childhood settings from 0 to 6. So officially, no, there isn't a qualification in special education coming up through this. However, I do know that a number of our graduates have gotten teaching council numbers and are working in special education, but I wouldn't like to give a false impression that, this is what we're qualifying you for. It's our focus is really in early childhood settings. I mean, that said, again, I was making the assumption there that the question was around special education at primary level, because actually we do an awful lot around inclusion for early years. So a lot of people would go into really focusing on being the person within their setting who develops inclusion. And a lot of our graduates and our current students would work as AIMS support workers as well. So so there is a link there, all right, but it's not as straightforward maybe as the other qualifications.
Yeah, and it just depends, as you said, whether they want to go into the early years or primary. Fantastic. Thank you so much. In relation to the block weeks for the flexible degree, if you're already working, how does that work?
Will I answer that as well, Fionnuala? I don't want to dominate, but I probably have the information.
Dominate away. Absolutely.
Thanks. So the way the block weeks work is that we try to structure them so that practicing educators are in a position to attend. So up to now, what we've done is that the block weeks have taken place in the midterm break for the ECHI scheme. So that's usually one in maybe October and one in February. Like, it'll change year to year based on when that midterm break is. Now we're looking at that at the moment, and kind of I'll be seeking a bit of feedback from students and over the next little while, just to see how, whether we should maybe look at putting it towards Easter holidays or what would work better for our students. I mean, we're very kind of responsive to the needs of our students. For those who are working, who don't work in the ECHI scheme, they tend to take some annual leave for the block weeks, and it just is really important to note that attendance is a central requirement of the degree. So you'd need to kind of figure out how you're going to make that one work. Maybe Antoinette, you might like to say something about how you've juggled that piece.
Hi, Leah. Yeah, regarding me, I just work in the ECHI scheme. So for me, it was on midterm breaks. So it didn't interfere with me, but I do know some of my fellow students may have had to take maybe 2 days annual leave because they might have only been off a part of the week. But it is, and they're full on weeks, they're busy weeks, but it's very important that they're there. You say the attendance is important, but the knowledge gain for a full week in college is, definitely needed.
Super, thank you so much. Apologies. Will there be a lecture on early childhood education on campus on the 30th, which is our open day? Good segue. I'm assuming there will be. Leah, do you know about?
Yeah, there will be, absolutely. So we're part of the open day schedule, and we'll be delivering a little talk on early childhood teaching and learning. It'll be very similar to what you've heard tonight, though, so just be aware of that. And I'll be there in person to answer any questions.
That's great. Thank you so much. And when I have 2 seconds, I will pop in the open day schedule for anyone who would like it, including the registration, and you can register away there. I'll just go through the questions first, if that's okay. So what else has popped in here? Oh yes, someone would like to know, given the fact that you mentioned, Leah, that others had gone on to get a teaching council number, so they would like a verification that you can actually get a teaching council number with this degree.
Yeah, I'm a little bit wary of kind of verifying that for definite, because I mean, to be very clear, this is not a primary teaching degree, but I am certainly aware of a number of our graduates who have been successful. So I suppose it's about applying, and I obviously don't have any control over what the teaching council choose to do, but it's kind of case by case basis. And I suppose at the moment there's such a shortage of subs and that in the primary sector, particularly around early years or special education. So our students have been successful in the past, but that's not to say there would be a guarantee going forward.
If I could just add in there, I think it may also have something to do with previous qualifications that a person might have, as well as experience that they might have, or the kind of experience that they might have. I think maybe some Montessori trained people who have previous Montessori training with maybe significant experience have managed to get the teaching council number, but they're a wee bit like hen's teeth. Maybe they're hard to find sometimes, but yeah, it has happened. But I think it's unlikely that somebody coming straight out of our degree would get one unless they had previous training and experience under their belt. Would you agree with that, Leah?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Thanks, Teresa, for clarifying.
No problem.
I've also popped the link to Teaching Council. Maybe best thing to do might be to either give them an email or to a quick telephone call, and just to maybe verify that for yourselves. That's amazing, but thank you so much. So is there room for flexibility to choose subjects from our arts degree within the early childhood teaching and learning? Or it's just, no, there isn't. It's just early childhood teaching and learning modules.
It's a program into itself. Yeah.
That's it. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. Does anyone have any more questions maybe for Antoinette and her experience here tonight, or any other questions at all for that matter? We've a couple of minutes left before we're due to say adieu. I have popped in the link to the open day which you can register there as well. And I know that I've had a series of questions about primary teaching and the PME. I've popped in the links where possible. I've popped in the entry requirements, and I've popped in the link to TAG as well. So yeah, hopefully that's all very useful information. If you, casting your mind back, Antoinette, on your first couple of weeks on campus, what piece of advice would you give your first year self looking back now?
Oh gosh. God, you put me on the spot there. I suppose to trust myself. Like there's so much knowledge that I've gained, but again, it's personally innate. I suppose there's a lot of it within you personally of making friends and building relationships, and because relationships are key to everything. And to be honest, there's times where you're banging your head off a brick wall, and these small little groups, and everybody, you will find where you are. No one's ever left out on their own. They're sometimes the ones that get you over that tough period, whether it's something personal that you're dealing with or something professional. That they're essential. So I suppose trust yourself, get in. You're there for a reason. If you're there to learn, just get stuck in.
And there's a lot of support available, as you said.
Oh gosh.
Did you have a gap between, let's say, a leaving cert or some education and then coming on to the degree?
Oh, did I what?
Yeah, that can be daunting.
Gosh, I can't even think when. I think I done my leaving cert in 1989. So yeah, there was a little gap, but I have done my level 5 and my level 6 in between. but I think it was 13 years because my youngest is 18. So yeah, there was a big gap, but I had done lots of CPD in between.
Sure.
That is essential as
Yeah.
well. It's a never-changing sector. There's no 2 days the same. There's no 2 children the same. So yeah, it was a big gap. And for me, it was more the academic writing, using Zoom, using Teams, getting back into that end of things. But you know
Well,
what, again,
yes.
the lectures, as I said, are fantastic. There's the support is there. No question is a stupid question.
Correct.
And everybody's nervous kind of going, ask it, but it's like when someone asks it, 90% of the class are going, oh my God, thank God
Thank
somebody
God.
asked.
Yeah.
So when those relationships are built, that's so much more easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And to get stuck in, as you said yourself, you know, everyone has to have a first day. Time-wise, how much time do you need to dedicate? How much do you need to dedicate a week, not including online class, time-wise? Okay. In other words, what kind of hours are people looking at in order to, and I suppose that leads nicely into my question, because I was going to ask you, how do you ensure you're successful? You have a work placement, you have your coursework. How do you make sure that you're keeping on top of everything, I suppose?
It's finding the balance and looking after yourself as well, is important. Your own well-being, because if you're not in the right frame of mind, it's going to have a knock-on effect with everything else. So it's finding that happy balance between assignments and preparing in advance. I mean, the lectures, I said, are fantastic, and they're giving you the information going, so get started. Don't be a lastminute.com. It doesn't work. In this degree, it doesn't work. And again, most of the modules and assignments is always linking theory to practice, always. The lectures will come out with these little nuggets, golden nuggets during the lectures. Take notes of them.
Yeah, have a folder with just golden nuggets written on it.
Oh,
yeah.
Listen, and they're priceless. Because there's only so much you can take from a slide, but it's those conversations with your classmates, fellow students, and with the lecturers. And that's what it is, as well as what you're doing on a daily basis, whether you're in placement or whether you're in full-time work. Yeah, it's everything, every module, and I think Leah will back me up on this, is always connected to what you're doing on a daily basis.
Fantastic.
Antoinette, can I ask you, how many hours a week do you think you would spend preparing assignments? Not your classes now, but like doing the study and writing assignments.
I suppose that's why it's probably taking me so long. I'll either do it 100% or I won't do it at all. Different assignments require different things. Some things come a little bit more natural. If I'm writing about practice, because that's where I am, it'll be a lot easier for me. Some you have to work a little bit harder on. I suppose 8 to 10 hours maximum per week. Okay. And that includes Saturdays. I know we have one Saturday a month. But again, if you prepare beforehand and do your work in the earlier days, you'll fly through towards the end. And again, the lecturers are always there if you're stuck, if you need support in anything, if you're not understanding anything.
But no, that's a good yardstick for people to know how many hours of writing or reading or
exactly.
Is
that similar to the full-time course? I suppose we keep navigating back to the more flexible option because that's what Antoinette's on and that kind of thing. But what would your week look like on a full-time course? And I think that'll be the last question of the evening.
Yeah, sure. So the full-time program looks a little bit different. The way the timetable is structured at the moment, and obviously timetables are subject to change and review and that, but at the moment, our full-time students are not on site in Maynooth on Mondays or Fridays. That's when they do their placement. So their lectures are all on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. They start a little bit later, so they come in at about 12, and they would be here then until 5 or 6 in the evening on Tuesday, Wednesday. Usually they're finished by 5, and obviously there'll be a lunch break allowed in there as well. But the full-time lectures are usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at the moment, and that gives the full-time students lots of opportunity to engage with the on-campus activities.
Fab. Thank you so much. Listen, that was so informative. I've really enjoyed it. It's the time has flown. I can't believe it. And rarely go
so
over
much.
time. Yes, absolutely. And this session has been recording. It has been recorded rather, and I don't think I mentioned that at the top of the session. So it will be available on the website possibly tomorrow or definitely by Friday. If you'd like to share it with people who had signed up but just couldn't make it this evening, I'd really like to thank Leah, Teresa, Antoinette, and everyone here who logged on this evening for your time. It has been absolutely amazing. But I shall release you now off into the evening. So
and
take care.
Fionnuala, thank you as well. You are just, we'll be seeing you on prime time next. Brilliant host.
Thanks,
Absolutely
Fionnuala.
fantastic.
Thanks,
host.
Antoinette.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Teresa.
I was worried.
Bye,
Oh,
Leah,
and see you at open
bye-bye
day,
to
everyone.
all.
Guys, see you
See you
soon.
at open
Bye.
day.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.